Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode will be a 10-minute report on the Cardinals. If you guys are unfamiliar, that's where I take 20 minutes of study plus my already established knowledge and then record a 10-minute podcast. Please make sure to follow me on Spotify and Instagram at Wedge 52 Gridiron. Check out my other episodes and happy 4th of July. Now let's jump into the 10-minute report on the Arizona Cardinals. Starting off, this may be the most confusing, if not one of the most confusing off seasons of an NFL franchise in the 2023 season, leading up to the 2023 season. First of all, they let probably their two biggest free agents in terms of what they did for the team, and kind of their, projected value in terms of production. They let their two biggest free agents go this offseason. That would obviously be cornerback Byron Murphy Jr., who only played 9 games last year, but in those 9 games put up 36 tackles, as well as 2 fumble recoveries. He did not have any interceptions last year, but he did post his lowest completion percentage allowed during his career at, I believe, 63.5%. The other free agent that they let walk was Zach Allen, defensive end, who put up 47 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 8 passes defense during the 2022 season for the Cardinals. So those are 2 players who potentially didn't want to stay on a sinking ship / rebuilding team, or potentially the Cardinals just didn't offer them, what they thought they'd be worth. But without a doubt, those were the 2 biggest free agents that the Cardinals had coming from their roster in 2022, and they let both of them walk. Even more of a confusing and kind of a roller coaster of news updates regarding the Cardinals during this offseason is around DeAndre Hopkins. This, I'm sure, surprised and, or potentially amused many NFL fans. I'm sure Cardinals fans were going through the ups and downs of emotions and wanting Hopkins and saying whatever and this and that. Basically, it started with rumors and speculation from everywhere across the league, even within the Cardinals themselves, I believe, at one point, saying that DeAndre Hopkins was, wanting a trade and that they were shopping him, even as early as during the season last year. Obviously, a trade never got done. They head into the offseason after a poor 2022 campaign. And DeAndre Hopkins, is kind of radio silent. The Cardinals don't say much, but the news, the media, everyone's speculating that DeAndre Hopkins wants a trade and that the Cardinals are trying to trade him. Then we get to voluntary workouts at team facilities, and DeAndre Hopkins was in the building and even went and posted a video to his social media saying something along the lines of, "What are you guys saying? Like, I'm here. I want to be here. I'm here getting that work in. Who said anything about a trade?" So I'm sure that, that kind of, I'm sure especially for Cardinals fans, but even a lot of people around the league, maybe DeAndre Hopkins trade candidate hopefuls, that kind of indicated that we thought D-Hop was going to be staying in Arizona. Then, shortly after that, DeAndre Hopkins was cut by the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, you heard me correctly. He was cut, meaning the Cardinals got nothing in return for him. They got no trade value. They didn't trade him anywhere. They just ate, the remaining part of the contract that they owed him. Even if they cut him before the salary cap cut deadline. And that's what they did. So That's kind of surprising. They wouldn't want to at least get something in return for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure if he had a no-trade clause in his contract. If he did, that would certainly make a little bit more sense if he was just simply refusing every single option that the Cardinals may have presented to him. Moving on to Budda Baker, he also requested a trade this offseason. He's obviously the starting safety. He plays everywhere on the field. I want to say he's top 5 in safeties for run defense percentage of as well as tackles for loss among safeties. Dude is everywhere. He plays sideline to sideline. He plays in coverage, but he also plays run. He attacks the ball very well. So Budda Baker is one of those guys. He's top 5 safety in the league. With very little argument that he's top 5. And he has been said that either requested a trade out of Arizona or Arizona made him the highest paid safety in the league. I'm unfamiliar with, the kind of tension or discussion that, Cardinals management and Budda Baker were having. I didn't really keep up with it too much, but I do know that it seems to be a little bit better right now, as Budda Baker has attended voluntary minicamps. So if a player is showing up to voluntary minicamps, in my opinion, majority of the time they're going to, work out some sort of deal with the team. Doesn't feel like he's, salty or having any hard feelings at the moment, at least. But as we saw with DeAndre Hopkins, we can't really take anything right now from the Cardinals with more than a grain of salt. So moving on to Kyler Murray. Last season, he tore his ACL in December, middle of December. A return timetable on ACL injuries for NFL players is potentially 8 to 9 months. It all depends on the athlete, size, training, rehab, all that. But 8 to 9 months is kind of like the early side of it. But it could go all the way up to 12 months, and in rarer cases, past the 12-month timetable. But 9 to 12 months, Cardinals fans, NFL fans, I'm sure. Kyler brings some intensity, shows some cool plays. So I'm sure a lot of people are hoping that it's towards the earlier side. But that would still not be till September or October-ish, which is, a little bit more than halfway through the season. So the Cardinals could be going half of the season, at least, without their starting quarterback, potentially, one of the few highlights of their team, of their roster in a rebuilding, time frame. So that could be a struggle for them, especially if they have Colt McCoy being their starter. Nothing against Colt McCoy, but he's never really been a consistent starter. He's played in 12 seasons, 56 games, with 36 of those being starts. I believe his starting quarterback record is 11-25. He also has thrown for 8,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 32 interceptions. So almost a 1-to-1 touchdown-interception ratio is never a good thing. And 8,000 yards over, let's say, 36 starts. So 2 seasons plus, 20 other appearances. On the lower side, but serviceable at least in terms of yards. Moving on to the draft, the Cardinals, I actually think, had a pretty good draft. They made quite a few moves on day one. And I believe that, in terms of day one, they definitely showed up. And so they traded the Texans, traded them the Cardinals' third overall pick for this year's 12, 33, and then the 2024 first and third rounder of the Texans. So they got, 3 firsts and a 3rd round pick in exchange for number 3 overall. And then they traded back with the Lions. The Cardinals received the 6th and 81 pick for the 12, 34, and 168. The Cardinals went ahead and selected Paris Johnson, offensive lineman out of Ohio State, which I think is an excellent pick. Dude's a stud. He played left tackle, played left guard in 2021. Cardinals, probably their best position group on the roster is already their offensive line. So adding him, I believe, is a good start. He definitely will start. My guess is at left guard since Humphries is already at left tackle. I'm currently at my 10-minute mark, but it is important to mention that the Cardinals will be working with new head coach Jonathan Gannon, as well as new offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. Jonathan Gannon was the Eagles' defensive coordinator last season. Obviously, they went to the Super Bowl. Defense was, pretty good. But that's all the time we have. I've gone over my 10 minutes. So that just leaves me with my record prediction for the Cardinals in the 2023 season. I unfortunately believe that the Arizona Cardinals are going to go 2-15 this season. That's all I have for my 10-minute report on the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you guys for listening. Again, please check out my other episodes. Follow me on Spotify and Instagram at Wedge52Gridiron. Happy 4th of July, and go Ravens.